This remake missed the mark in a lot of areas, and fails to recapture the spark of the classic.
Alright, I'm back to give my own opinion on this Persona 3 analysis. Video being from Nam's Compendium, the same guy that recommended Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, so we already know that we can totally trust this person's opinion on any sort of media.
But that's not to say that I'm fully against the idea of games getting remakes at all, because there are good ways to do it. I'm personally more of a fan of when remakes try to do their own thing while being respectful to the original. The Resident Evil games come to mind when I think of this. They aren't attempting to invalidate the classic experience, rather they take the original idea and apply it in a different context. These two games stand heads and shoulders with each other. Just by looking at footage of both of them, you can find inherent value in eventually trying out both titles. Persona 3 Reload isn't trying to be that kind of remake. Reload strives to be the new definitive way.
I don't really see an issue with Reload, quote-unquote, trying to be the definitive way. I mean, the game or the developers never really said that, but you do you. But I can understand why this game would want to be the definitive way to play Persona 3, because after all, this game was, what, $70 and has better gameplay and graphics overall. He also says that the Resident Evil remakes are respectful to the originals. No, they aren't. I mean, look, I like Resident Evil 2 Remake, I like Resident Evil 4 Remake, but Resident Evil 3 Remake was definitely nothing like the original game. In fact, it felt like an attempt to replace the original game. That's why so many Resident Evil fans didn't like the 3 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake is definitely different from the original Resident Evil 2. This is coming from someone who likes Resident Evil 2 Remake more than the original. Same applies to Resident Evil 4. Like, the Resident Evil remakes, besides the first Resident Evil, aren't that faithful to the original source material. If anything, Persona 3 Reload is more faithful to the original story because it is the original story. Like, is this guy stupid or something? Like, I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to understand this man's opinion. You know, the man that recommended Raid Shadow Legends. But so far, I'm not really seeing what the main issue is. I mean, a lot of his complaints don't really make that much sense. And has he seen how Resident Evil fans are? Look, the remakes for the games mostly have positive feedback, but there are those set of Resident Evil fans who call the remake soulless. I mean, there's a video alone right here has so many upvotes. Not to mention the plethora of other videos that criticize the Resident Evil remakes. I bring up the Resident Evil fans because whereas a lot of fans are disappointed by the remakes, so many Persona 3 fans are actually really happy about Persona 3 Reload's remake.
Impact on the game's combat design, and it's here when things started to go downhill for me. So it's no secret that the original Persona 3 isn't exactly the most beginner-friendly JRPG.
Actually, Persona 3 was many people's first Persona game. I mean, after all, it did save the series. And what do you mean by not being beginner-friendly? I mean, the game has an easy setting just so people can enjoy it more casually. Even though you can't control the party members, the game isn't that hard. I mean, all you gotta do is just level up to win. Persona 3 was my first exposure to Persona series and many other people's exposure to the Persona series. It objectively outsold Persona 1 and 2, hence why Persona 3 is considered a huge success.
Expressing the ideas at the core of the experience. Persona 3 was the last time the franchise truly emphasized the dungeon crawling. For as much as I like the gameplay of Persona 4 and 5, the systems and design featured in 3 has slowly become more preferable to me over the years. This is probably the closest Persona will ever come to being a roguelike game. The way every piece of equipment comes with its own random bonus effects, how the party versatility allows for unique compositions, and also in the Guardians you have to fight every few floors. All of this plays a massive role in defining what Persona 3 is as an experience.
What a single-digit IQ take. Like, what is this man talking about? Equipment that comes with random stat increases? Well, first of all, it's not even random. There's a freaking description at the bottom that tells you what the equipment does. But Persona 4, 5, and Persona 3 Reload also have that mechanic. Mini bosses during dungeon exploration? Yeah, Persona 4 and 5 still have that. Like, this isn't just unique to Persona 3. Persona 4 Gold and Persona 5 Royal even go out of their way to have optional bosses. Like, what series has this man played? Nah, my guy, you need to lay off the Raid Shadow Legends, bud.
Experience can reach its full potential. However, Reload instead opts to change the gameplay in rather significant ways, to the point where the experience is a lot closer to Persona 5 than it is to the game it's trying to remake. Combat in Persona 3 Reload is about what you would expect from the franchise in a post-P5 world. You build a team of 4 party members and exploit weaknesses.
The significant ways are characters being able to be fully controlled and also having some new optional attacks. It's still pretty much the exact same gameplay, still turn-based combat, still targeting weaknesses. What's the issue here? And it's very weird to me how this guy gives the Resident Evil games a pass when they totally change up the formula, but when Persona 3 Reload is mostly faithful to the original game, then he suddenly has an issue and complains that it's not faithful enough. Like, what's going on here? Like, I could completely understand this complaint if Persona 3 Reload became like a totally different genre. You know, like if the game suddenly went from being turn-based combat to being like a first-person shooter to being like a fighting action game or something like that. But no, overall Persona 3 Reload is what the fans wanted. Turn-based combat with some new additional features.
Grown to appreciate this unique approach to combat, which is why it sucks to see the tactic system get completely gutted in future games. Persona 4, in response to the feedback from P3, added direct commands while keeping the AI settings as an option. This would have been a nice compromise, but the issue is that the AI is completely unusable now, and we're missing more than half of the tactics. I'm not sure what happened in between games, but Persona 4's AI was a complete downgrade from Persona 3's, and unfortunately, it's been like this ever since. It sucks to see such a novel idea get completely shelved after the first attempt.
Not being able to control the party is a novel ideal to you. Having limited gameplay is a novel ideal to you. The gameplay being on autopilot for most of the time in Persona 3 FES is novel to you. Okay. Oh goodness, how dare the game developers actually listen to feedback and give people what they want, which is the ability to control the party, rather than letting them just stay on autopilot. By the way, Persona 3's original tactics menu isn't perfect. A lot of times the characters wouldn't listen to you. In fact, Mitsuru's Meirin Karin has literally become a meme because it's a skill that nobody wants to use. However, Persona 3's dumb tactics menu actually has her try to spam that attack when it's not even necessary.
As their bond grows throughout the story, the characters learn how to work better as a team in the gameplay. The tactics system was vital to demonstrating this idea, and it blows my mind to see the way people talk about this mechanic. Some people act like this mechanic was a genuine mistake, and the mere idea of
it was a genuine mistake. Like, I'm sorry, but most people prefer having control of the party. Look, if you prefer gameplay just being on autopilot for most of the time, that's fine, you know, just go play Final Fantasy 13 or something. You also say that the tactics menu was an indicator of, you know, the characters' bonds getting stronger. No, it wasn't. The tactics menu was never really a part of that. You could see the characters getting closer to each other, not by a stupid, pointless menu, but by actually, you know, paying attention to the story.
Persona 3 Reload should have put in the effort to preserve the tactics system. Regardless as to whether or not you'd use it yourself, the tactics system is a very important part of Persona 3's identity, and it should stand to reason that a remake should preserve that, right? But no, Persona 3 Reload doesn't do that. The tactics menu exists, that's
I'll just flat out say it. I think Nam is a complete weirdo for, you know, wanting the games to play on autopilot. Like, he doesn't want full control. He supports games playing themselves. I mean, geez, no wonder this guy likes Raid Shadow Legends.
apparently, because I've played games that have both. So recently I played through Dragon Quest VIII in my free time, and I had a lot of fun with it. Something that I was surprised to see was that the game featured its own tactics menu on top of having direct party control. So out of curiosity, I ended up playing through nearly the entire game with it, and yeah, it worked great. The AI was able to easily determine what skills need to be used when, and there were even
There goes Nam again, preferring the gameplay on autopilot rather than actually, you know, controlling and using the characters. Like, what does he have against direct gameplay? And speaking of Dragon Quest VIII being randomly brought up for no reason, most people prefer controlling the party in Dragon Quest VIII as well. And good God, man, like, why is this video over an hour long? Like, a lot of this could have been just summed up into like a 10-minute opinion piece. Like, I swear, these YouTube analysis people, they make these videos overly long on purpose to decrease the chances of someone like me actually arguing back and trying to debunk said video. Because hey, let's face it, most people don't really have the time to actually, actually argue against a video. So they'll just leave a comment, and that comment will just unfortunately be ignored. I also really like it how a lot of Nom's fans are like, well, he's just using criticism, we should respect his opinion. However, when you criticize Nom's video, his fans will be like, how dare you criticize his video? He was just giving his opinion. So wait, how's that fair? It's okay to criticize a video game that was made by humans, but it's not fair to criticize a review. So that's the end of part 2 of this video. I'll eventually, reply to the rest of the video in another part. I'm splitting this up into parts because it's for my own mental health. Like, listening to this guy and having to do a bunch of edits is very straining. So if you watch this video, thank you. I'm going to go out and do a 2-mile walk, and then I'm going to come back, shower, and play some Persona 3 Reload. To be honest, I want to do videos on the classic God of War games and the Norse God of War games, but first I just need to express how I feel about Nom's Compendium's video first. And this video is coming from someone who's played FES way more than Persona 3 Reload, and as someone who grew up playing FES, I can rightfully confirm that Reload is better in just about every other direction. Maybe except for music, but otherwise the game is still a million times better